Okay, welcome back to session two. This is my pleasure to invite the moderator of this session, Assistant Professor Dr. Ora-orn, Poocharoen, to facilitate the panel session two entitled University 4.0 Transition Agent for the Future. Dr. Ora-orn is founding director of School of Public Policy, Chiang Mai University, and spearhead numerous workshops on strategic foresight covering topics from higher education, traveling, innovation landscape to Thailand's governance systems. She is a part of the visionary board for the Asia Pacific Futures Network or APFN and is a guest editor for a special issue of the Journal of Future Studies. Ajahn Ora-orn, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajahn Jessada. It is my great pleasure to take part in the Futures Literacy Week organized by Chulalongkorn University. And it's also my great pleasure to take part in today's session or this afternoon session that is titled University 4.0 Transition Agents for the Futures. This afternoon, we've heard from prominent speakers, and the previous session has laid the foundation for us on the futures literacy. And this session, I think it is very important for us to zoom in to the role of universities and how we can incorporate futures literacy into higher education. How can universities themselves as institutions transform to be more future ready and to be able to also influence futures that we all aspire to have, whether it's about equitable futures, sustainable futures, and in general, more democratic, more fair futures that we all aspire to. It's my goal in this session to help moderate so that we leave with more questions, perhaps, than answers. Some of the questions that we would like to start off with in this panel includes, is higher education an industry to produce suitable workforce for the economy, essentially just to create economic digits? Or is it a tool by the state for indoctrinating certain acceptable values and goals that each nation states are looking for? Or is it a place for freedom of thought, expression, a place for innovation and knowledge creation? Or is it a place for critical, in-depth reflection on where we are heading? How can higher education and universities play a better role to transform mindsets and practices for a more equitable and sustainable world? Some universities are already seeing the impact of aging society, of reduction in population, also of demands that are less perhaps for university degrees. So this panel, I think, will be taking on this important challenge, and I do invite all the panelists to candidly share their thoughts, and also for the audience to candidly ask and share your opinions. It's a great honor for me today to take part and introduce the panelists. We have with us by recording Dr. Natcha, who is the Vice President for Strategic Planning, Innovation, and Global Engagement of Chulalongkorn University. We also have with us Dr. Adrian Koi, who is the Director of Futures Office from the National University of Singapore. And we have Dr. Zulina Binti Zubairi, who is the Associate Vice-Chancellor for Global Engagement, Universiti Malaya. We're also joined by Dr. Thanongsack Duangdala, who is the Deputy Director, Office of Academic Affairs, National University of Laos. And we have also Dr. Sunton Wongsiri, who is the Vice President for Research and Innovation, Prince of Songkla University. And last but not least, we have our friend Dr. Yasuyuki Kono, Vice President for International Strategy, Kyoto University. So as you can see, we have a list of prominent university leaders with us from Asia Pacific, and this is a great opportunity for us to, let's just say, scan the signals of the future for higher education and perhaps share with us pockets of the future that some of you might already see and that you think would be beneficial to learn together. So I've prepared in advance some preliminary questions for our panelists. The first question would be, what is the role of universities today? What would be the roles of universities in the future? And if you could touch upon how should universities be governed and managed? Essentially, are they private entities? Are they like corporates? Or are they like public entities? Should it be an open space or closed space? So let me first invite us to hear the presentation, which is recorded by Dr. Natcha of Chulalongkorn University.
สวัสดีค่ะ Thank you very much for your kind introduction. It is a great honor to be on this panel of distinguished leaders from our partner institutions. I'm delighted we can share our insights and practices in search of creative and more meaningful actions to serve our societies. Dear Professor Dr. Yasuyuki Kono, Professor Dr. Yong, Zulina, Binti, Zubairi, Assistant Professor Sunton, Wongsiri, Assistant Professor Dr. Ora-orn, Poocharoen. I consider the theme of our session, University 4.0, Transition Agents for the Futures, to be a most relevant topic in our time. We cannot address our future or futures without critically examining the indispensable and evolving role of university in societal transformation. Universities continue to serve as a center of learning, nurture future leaders of our societies. Moreover, more importantly, universities are facilitators of changes and transition agents for the futures. As rightly discussed by Professor Ronald Barnett, the author of Imagine the University, as a renowned scholar from the Institute of Education at the University of London, and the essence of University 4.0 is promoting an ecological university. Since ancient time, the university has been a body of knowledge to serve the public in some way, but its target, role, and character have changed over time. In the recent past, during the University 3.0 eras, universities serve a diverse function, including an entrepreneurial agents, but they are still concerned by optimizing the self-interest. In the context of University 4.0, we clearly recognize the fundamental paradigm shift in focus, priorities, and values. In our time of disruptive technologies, technological approaches to qualification and pedagogies are becoming obsolete. Universities need to offer an on-demand, lifelong learning opportunities in multiple modes. Universities need to be deeply connected to industry and the communities around them, and committing to serve the needs of those communities as well as the students. University must also act quickly as the changes are taking place at tremendous speeds. We are in an era where reimagining and redefining the role of universities is no longer an option, but mandatory. In order to serve the broader public goods and the global common goods, University 4.0 phenomenon has been further facilitated, accelerated during the past 2 years. I have no doubt that we all agree that the pandemic has taught us a great many lessons. It has presented with unprecedented challenges, whereby we are forced to question our norms, assumptions, and old belief in the world of continued uncertainties. Although we have been forced to come to terms of new realities, we can appreciate this opportunity to transform our institution and ourselves for a more sustainable society. The global pandemic has pushed us to rethink, reimagine the role of universities to another level. The public places increasingly expectation on university as a trusted institutions of society. At this extraordinary juncture in recent history, the traditional role of universities of teaching and research alone is expanding so that we can act on social challenges in a much more proactive and progressive manner. To serve as an agent of change for society and for sustainable futures, Chulalongkorn University vision is to generate and support innovations for society. This vision propels us to strengthen multi-stakeholders collaboration to serve society at large. Innovations for society starts by understanding the true needs of members of societies and community settings, then providing them with innovative solutions at speed. The solutions are built upon three key principles. First, being relevant to the stakeholders. Second, being impactful at speed. And third, the potential for community to connect, collaborate, co-share values, learn, increasingly build upon each other's successes. We expect to achieve community engagement, increasing innovation, integrated relevant impact, policy developments, global collaborations, and the promotion of global citizenship. We are transforming to research university that teaches and contributed to build a sustainable society through our very important assets of innovation, enterprises, research, and education. We strive to make significant contribution to the advancement of knowledge and solve local and global issues through research and innovation that bring about positive and concrete socio-economic impacts. We teach with the most innovative curricular, pedagogical methods, and make research as an integral component of teaching and produce graduates who stand out because of their success in intensely competitive arena during their education and, more importantly, after graduation. Three key strategies that we have done during the past few years. First, we nurture our future's leader. We want to create a new generation of leaders who's not only pursue individual international success, but also care about social issues and aspire to make a difference in society. For this reason, Chulalongkorn University advances 21st century learning paradigm that focusing on critical thinking, collaborations, creativity, communication, entrepreneurship, and provide lifelong learning opportunities. I would like to note that during the ongoing pandemics, Chulalongkorn has become increasingly important in providing an online learning opportunities, not just for our students, but for all citizens. Chulalongkorn University has also assumed a key role in establishing a virtual exchange program through the Association of Pacific Rims University, or APRU. Building this virtual exchange program accomplishment, Chulalongkorn University is now engaging in partnership discussion to a launch of a pilot program called APRU SDG, Education for Global Citizenship, with the support from the UN. By introducing interdisciplinary and SDG programs, we aim to instill a global citizenship mindset and respect to value diversity, which ultimately motivate Chula students, citizens, and our international collaborators to work towards social justice together. In this way, we are also expanding our contribution to the international community and enhancing connectivity among global communities. The second strategy is we produce impactful research and innovation. Chulalongkorn University constantly innovates and produces impactful research in a wide array of fields to solve societal challenges. We encourage our faculty member, researcher, and students to conduct rigorous and meaningful research and develop innovative solutions that align with the needs of local and global communities so that we can generate globally integrated and globally relevant impacts. Notably, upon the outbreak of the pandemic, our team immediately responded to the crisis. Chula has been leading research on two Thailand-made COVID-19 vaccines. A protein-based vaccine by Bayer Phytopharm, a startup and a spin-off from University's Chula Pharmaceutical Science faculty, has successfully passed the human trial phase 2. And also another team, Chula COVID-19, the first ever mRNA vaccine to be developed in Thailand, and is now in the third phase of human trial, and is expected to start the production in early this year. The third one, We strive for sustainability. Chulalongkorn University actively cultivate innovation and entrepreneurship in an open and integrated manner. CU Innovation Hub is a space and a platform for students and citizens with creative ideas to innovate and put innovation into practice. The hub supports the incubation of startup projects and businesses that serve the public and advance sustainability. To date, more than 300 innovation-driven teams have been founded to create innovative solutions to improve citizens' quality of life. The benefit of these innovations have reached over 52 provinces in Thailand, or over 80% of the country's populations, and they are now scaling to contribute to Asian countries. A leading innovation including ViaBus, a nationwide real-time transit mobile app which track various modes of transportation such as public buses, boats, vans, and city buses. The co-founder of ViaBus were recently selected from over 2,500 nominations for the Forbes 19 Under 30 Asia 2021. Chulalongkorn University also participated in various global movements towards better futures. One such notably international engagement is with the UNESCO Future Literacy, which we are now in. I feel extremely blessed that we could organize Jula Future Literacy Week at this juncture to reflect on our role and responsibility as an agent of transition. And I cannot thank our national and international partner enough for that generous collaboration, as well as community member of Chulalongkorn University, the teaching staff, researchers, students, and administrative staff for their committed leadership and service towards the global common goods. With such challenges such as climate change, pandemics, economic crisis, social inequality, racism, intergenerational conflict, and so on, the future is uncertain. Future literacies allow us to envision different futures and not change toward those futures, becoming a drive force for more innovation. This is not just about understanding how to prepare for potential crises or how to overcome immediate challenges or realizing the important goal of Agenda 2030. It is about moving beyond dependency on the illusion of certainty and fragility, such as vision-making. Global dialogue is an extremely important, and we take it seriously because as the university public role is expanding, we can motivate all sectors of society to move towards and forwards together, being futures literate. My conclusion, by proactively seeking industry-university partnership and supporting local and global engagement, we can connect people, knowledge, and resources to solve today's challenges and to ensure a sustainable future. To the three key strategies: by nurturing futures leader, develop impactful research and innovation, and strive for sustainability. Chulalongkorn University promotes intensified learning opportunities, dialogue, and exchange among all those we can reach, advancing our mission in the University 4.0 era. Even period to the COVID-19 pandemics, the speed of digitalization in society demand all sectors to address new challenges. The pandemic has accelerated this shift at an unexpected fast pace. Innovation and enterprise ecosystem can bring university, corporate sector, government agencies, and citizens together to form a network, engage in resource sharing, cooperative in innovation, develop business transfer technologies, and ultimately transform. In this context, the move towards University 4.0 is indispensable. University need to continuously evolve to meet the needs of society, and we need to move fast. The university role is certainly expanding. Chulalongkorn University believes that through the visions of innovations for society and our three strategies, we can work together, moving towards sustainable futures. Thank you very much indeed for giving me the opportunity to share Chulalongkorn University visions and our relevant work discussing the University 4.0. I look forward to continue to engage with all of you and advance our international collaboration. Thank you very much. สวัสดีค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ
So thank you very much, Dr. Natcha for making time to share with us the vision of Chulalongkorn University and its relations to futures literacy. So now let me move on to our next panelist, Dr. Adrian Koi. Would you like to kick start for us your thoughts on the futures of universities, please?
Hi, thanks very much for having me here. Thank you to the organizers. It's a pleasure to be here at the Chula Futures Literacy Week. I think the first presentation really set the context, and I've got really big shoes to fill. Ora, you mentioned, I think when we were discussing how to put this session together, you talked about having a conversation, and I'm more game for that. So if you allow me, I would like to throw out some questions and perhaps even concepts for us to mull over. And if these things stimulate all of us, that's great. And if it utterly confuses all of us, that's even better. So if you permit me, I would just like to talk you through some ideas, and it helps to have some images in front, just so that we have a kind of a roadmap. So if you don't mind, I'll share this right now. Hope everybody can see this. So, we're talking about the future of the university, and, we could be talking about particular universities, but at the same time, we could be talking about the university in the abstract. So I thought that what might be interesting, given the diversity in the room, would be perhaps to take a step back and consider the university in general. And maybe if I just start off by asking, what comes to mind when you think of the university, right? And chances are you're going to think of something like this, right? Some physical fixed place, buildings and landscaping and corridors and canteens and cafes and so on, or maybe even think of something even grander with a longer vintage, Harvard, Oxford, and so forth. Or maybe if you have a long enough appreciation of history, you could be thinking of something far older, right? You could be possibly imagining the medieval universities of ages ago, or perhaps even something closer to home, right? And what about the people in the university, right? When we think of the people in the university, do we, despite our attempts to think divergently, nevertheless end up visualizing something like this, which is standard fare for just about every university brochure that you lay your hands on? Granted, universities in different social cultural settings would have a different mix of ethnicities and so forth, but in the main, you're going to see youngish people in fixed settings, classrooms, libraries, labs, and so forth, doing things that you normally associate with university. And by and large, most of these brochures would have youngish people. And all the while, we're talking about lifelong learning and adult learners. So perhaps there's this joint between our perception and the emerging reality in our midst. So what if the University of the Future looks nothing like that? And so if that's the case, what might it look like? So what I like to do is to borrow the 6 Infinity Stones from Thanos. I'm sure we all remember the Marvel Comics movies, the Avengers, right? And if you recall from the movie, there are 6 stones representing supposedly basic categories, right, that we could talk about. Big, perhaps even crude, but nevertheless important categories: space, time, power, reality, mind, and so on. So if we use this as a kind of a framework to think through what University 4.0 might possibly look like, I think some of these things are already happening in our midst, accelerated by COVID, but certainly when you come to the spatial dimension of university, is it somewhere fixed? Or because of COVID, is it many places? As long as I have a Wi-Fi connection, is that the university? So in considering the University of the Future, is it somewhere fixed? Is it one place or many? Is it everywhere, in other words? Or might you be listening to a lecture, sitting on a train via a smartphone? At some point, would you be writing a dissertation on the tablet in a coffee house somewhere in town, far removed from the university, wherever it is? So is it everywhere? Is it nowhere? But more importantly, the spatial dimension of university is important because it has always served as a marker of social life. It's where we go. It's where we hang out. It's where we make friends. It's possibly where you met your wife or husband. right? And if the place is memorable enough for you, many people go back to the university to take their wedding photos in their white wedding dress and tuxedo and so forth. And so if the university is no longer a fixed place, what happens to its marker in the human condition? The same with time. When is the university? For many of us, we assume our university or college years were 4 particular years in our early 20s, plus minus, right? Maybe it's 4, 5, or 6 years. But now, in this era of lifelong learning, your university years could well be your entire lifetime. So when you talk about the temporal dimension of university, is it always on? What happens when lessons become asynchronous? If I'm just going to be able to listen to Ora speak via YouTube, why do we need lecture halls? We don't need to go there in person. We possibly need something else. But nevertheless, the temporal dimension of university matters because it also serves as a marker of sorts. It's a time of your life. It functions as a rite of passage. It was perhaps a safe space and time for us to do some unusual thinking where the cost of failure was low before we went out into the working world. But if the spatial and temporal boundaries erode, the separation between study and work starts to collapse. You are working and studying. There's no more, I'm going to stop working for a while and go back to school, because school is happening even as you work. And I think some of these things are happening already. But what about the other dimensions? How about the dimension of power? The university as a social institution concentrates a lot of power within itself, and not just knowledge power, but power to influence, power to shape reality. It has a particular identity. And I think right now we are looking at this emerging era, this age of contestation, of a more pronounced awareness of social global issues. When you talk about the power of the university, I think we now do need to take a step and ask, for whom does this power exist? What are we using this power to do? Right? Even within the university, there's a kind of a hierarchy, right? For all our talk of universities being a comprehensive research university, is there a pecking order, right? Where we elevate the STEM disciplines and then the social sciences, and then some of the disciplines don't seem to have the same respectability as others. And in the previous session, we talked about how we might have to tap on indigenous knowledge as we try to grapple with complex, wicked problems. But does that count as knowledge? Right? Are certain disciplines count as knowledge? And does shamanic knowledge, does the knowledge of Aboriginal peoples in Australia, of the Native Americans, does that count as knowledge? So I think one of the things we do need to consider is the notions of power. For whom does it exist? Who benefits? Who loses? At the same time, with reality, I think one of the interesting things about the university as a social institution, and the theme of this panel, after all, is agents of change, I think. Ideally, we are at the vanguard of change. We are pushing the boundaries, right? And sometimes we think that university should drag society forward, even if society is reluctant to embrace some of these changes. But is that really the case? Is it more realistic that universities simply reflect current reality, or worse? Is it also possible that many of the innovations, whether technological or social innovations or political changes, are occurring outside the university, and the universities themselves are struggling to keep up, right? In which case we have really failed as an institution or an agent of change. And finally, I want to talk about the mind and soul of the university. Ora, I think one of your questions that you seeded was, is the university simply a factory of sorts, producing economic digits, producing workers that feed into this capitalist global engine? And I think a lot of the university, a lot of the things that we do does speak to that aspect. But I think equally we need to forget the roots of the university, right? That for all of its practicality and all of the things that it does, which has applications in the world of commerce, industry, and so forth, there's always been this normative dimension of forming young men and women, and increasingly everyone who comes through its doors, so that you're just not going to be produced as a worker, but as a full human being able to appreciate your position in society. If you're of a religious bent, your location vis-a-vis your creator, or simply where you stand in the universe, right? And how you're going to interact with people who are different from you, but nevertheless occupy the same space and time. So I'm just going to stop here, and hopefully I've stimulated some thoughts in my colleagues and some of the audience. And if I have completely confused you, that's even better, because that's where authentic learning really begins, when you are utterly confused. So I'm just going to stop here and I'll turn it over to Ora.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Without fail, you have definitely made things more complex, which is wonderful. Some of the questions I pose, I think, actually were used futures, thinking that universities will have fixed structures, universities will have certain time limitations, and even the issue of power that you brought up is so interesting. I mean, the pegging order of knowledge. Why do we need that anyways, right? And the reality of universities reflecting or recreating societies. Maybe what you're saying, universities might not exist at all in the very near future, because it's not sort of needed anymore in the sense that we know it. So definitely very, very thought-provoking ideas. This will wake us up, definitely. And I think we're going to go now to Malaysia to hear from Associate Vice-Chancellor for Global Engagement, Universiti Malaya, Dr. Zulina, Yong, please take us to your future of higher education.
Thank you, Achan Ora-orn. On behalf of Universiti Malaya, I thank Chulalongkorn University, a close partner of Universiti Malaya, for the opportunity to be in the same virtual room with all these top scholars from the Southeast Asia region. Again, it's really my pleasure. I'm having a bit of an internet table, so I've requested on your end to assist me with sharing my slide. So, unlike Adrian, who's really forward-looking, different dimensions, I would like to take you back into where we are right now. I would like to back in and reflect on how did we respond, what have we learned, try to imagine the future of higher education. Next, please. Right. So now I'll just give you let's go back, reflect, and what happened, how we respond to the crisis. Most importantly, what are the key lessons that take away, because I think this will be very important for us to start reimagining the future of higher education, University 4.0 look like. What are the challenges as we move forward, as we navigate into the future? Please. Right. Now, let me just kind of sum this up. There's so many things going on, but I would like to just focus in a few areas. Teaching and learning. We all know with the pandemic, one goes into all the different kinds of, you cannot imagine the kind of to do from the different kinds of engagement with students, a lot of issues on asynchronized, the teaching and learning. The second one, to internship and lab works, the kind of disruption we were trying to, how long are we going to wait? Because for some of students in some of the fields, the necessity for them to have the hands-on is extremely important, and changing them. So what other ways can we get by that? Not least, with regard teaching and learning, we were all looking at the resources, going on the bandwagon, looking at all the platform out there to train, as well as looking at how do we conduct examination, how do we go about evaluation, looking at our LMS system as a whole, things that we know that we move. But I can say for Universiti Malaya, we were going for really the willpower was just not there. We were kind of dragging it, taking our own sweet time to move. Bang, with the pandemic, we had no other choice. But the second point on how the pandemic is really for most universities, we start changing our priorities. Things that we take for granted, for example, safety and well-being, it used to be in the back seat. So now it becomes the forefront, having series of SOP. For most of us, we start creating, become innovative, looking at apps for training, the vaccination drive, the support that we provide at the national as well as the international level, coming up with solutions. Second one is financial challenges. Although may not be very apparent in this part of the region, but in some countries where funding is very much dependent upon the enrollment of international students. And for research universities, the research funding, things that has been going on for kind of a free flow, kind of a secure kind of thing, it's really disruptive. Last but not least, financial aid for students, things that I would say before COVID was really sort of the middle or the least in some universities. And of course, the third one is the digitalization of higher education, where the issues of connectivity, the kind of devices, the infrastructure, the tools, digital literacy of the students, the staff, as well as the whole group. Please. So what are the key lessons? I'm just going to look at the academic program. When we deliver our academic, we realize that things that we have been doing it for so many to change. The first one, delivery. We have talked about, I think, hybrid version, the flexible version, the flexibility and so forth, the flipped class. So this is where we now realize that for once, the kind that we offer is really at risk because there are an explosion of degree programs. So we need to think whether the delivery program we've been running or the ones that we have been shift in the last 2 years, are we going to, what is the forward future like? The design of program, instructional design, the virtual program, I think we have seen earlier on some people on virtual programs, on mobility, competitions, and so forth. And the fourth one is COIL, the collaborative online learning. Well, COIL has been around for, as far as I know, 10 years ago. For us at university, we know about it, but the willpower to really put forward, deliver a content, sit down together with partners, we've never really think seriously about it, but with the last 2 years, it was really something that most of us thought we would not have achieved in such a short time span. I think for most of us, another one, joint program is something that, again, it's there, focus, but in the last 2 years, it has been increased quite a lot. All in all, we need to repackage the academic program where we can see on new concepts of delivering programs on degree stacking, micro-credential, MOOCs, and how do we put in this within the conventional program that we deliver. All in all, we need to be responding on the kind of academic program that we deliver, where there are new emerging programs, a huge increase, a huge interest in data science, cybersecurity, as well as health. Next, please. So these are the key lessons. with regard to academic program. Now, what about the changing priorities? Now, I'm sure if you take one step back, you realize by now the whole governance, there's a whole change in governance where people are looking at leaders to make decisions, to make fast decisions, and people are now looking at the roles and function, looking at resources, finance, as well as the sustainability of the university itself. I think most of us now, I'm sure, where you have really looked again at your strategic plan, relook at your vision, mission, your core values, as well as realign them, which is in order to make it more relevant in a very uncertain future. Digitalization, the data management, AI, and a few other things. But all in all, it's how we respond to global changes, meaning to say that when we package our program, trying to find solution, responding to global challenges, not just climate change, but also the geopolitics, as well as economy. Most importantly as well, the things that we have learned is how do we manage risk? How do we assess them? So how are we responding, and how do we identify potential risk? Next, please. Next, please. So I'm just going to share some of the reports I think would be a good reading from the World Economic Forum, as well as the IAU has just published yesterday, Higher Education 1 Year into Pandemic. It's quite interesting looking at universities in different parts of the world. So just with regard to teaching and learning, the future of education in the report, looking at some of the innovations that we have done in the last 2 years, which we should keep. Number one is the technology in the learning. And number two is redefining engagement, like what I am talking to you right now. All you see me is just the square, up to the a quarter of my face. And how do I go about communicating with you with my just halfway through the expression, facial expression. What is even more important is the assessment. How do we assess students? Things like reflection, digital using a peer assessment, it has been there, but we had actually take it out to the next level. All in all, in teaching and learning, we realize at the end of the day, we co-create the programs, co-create with students as well as. Next, please. Right, I take a very simple. Universiti Malaya, we re-looked again our core values, the organization, looking at 5 pillars. Looking at this one, you would have, I don't see any difference. There is any changes, whether this is really the present scenario, but in detail, we have actually changed. We have been doing for so many years, responding it. How do we make it relevant? So basically looking at the teaching and learning, the research, how do we manage talent, leadership, as well as income generation. Next, please. So what's the University 4.0 looks like? 5 key areas looking at the governance. How are the new future leaders taking into account of being resilient, financial sustainability, human resource, the need to reskill, law, which I think most of us have experienced in the last year, digitalization, security, privacy, as well as managing crisis. One is on academic program. Earlier on, some of the speakers has talked about the lifelong learning. So how do we get people to come back to the university? Skilling for upskilling, and I think Adrian has mentioned about everyone is not left behind. How can we ensure that it is include equity? We do not leave behind the marginalized community, to be delivering program that is flexible. Skills which the speakers talked about. 21st century skills. What are they? How do we go about embedding them in the academic program? And of course, the last but not least is the partnership program, the dual programs. Societal engagement now is important, where the support of the university, not just to the local community, but how do we go about translating the scientific knowledge to provide solutions? And I think the third, debunk misinformation. There's so many information out there in the, so which are facts, which are myths. Next, please. And last, two key points that I would like to share. What is actually University 4.0? The research priorities. Research priorities are really addressing global challenges, not just health, security, but other geopolitical issues. It's very much community-based research. The funding, it will be very difficult. I think for most universities, it's all about matching, trying to find partners. Last but not least, collaborations at a national level, regional level, as well as the international level. Next, please. I think that's the end of my slide. So there is no magic wand, there's no crystal ball that, that we can get future like, but at least looking at what we have gone through the last year gives some insight how the future would be. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yong, Zulina. Adrian gave us sort of a conceptual way to think about it, and now you've given us the tangible practices that University of Malaya has taken. So let us now go up north to our colleague from the National University of Laos. Dr. Thanongsack, please share with us your view of the futures of universities.
Thank you, Ora-orn, for inviting me to take part in this panel discussion. It's my honor to be one of the panelists. So just be informed that as I have been informed by the organizing committee not to use the PowerPoint so that we have authentic discussion. So
yes,
I would like to.
Thank you very much.
So I am not gonna share the PowerPoint anyway. So from the question that has already been said early on, that's what is the role of the university today? Looking from the perspective from the National University of Laos point of view, I think we still doing three key activities, as you already mentioned, that including teaching and learnings, research, and community service. So I think we, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have transformed our teaching and learning, shifting from face-to-face to online more. So I think the university in the future, we need to be prepared for the uncertainty, and as well as to be a place of knowledge sharing. So as we can see that we have a lot of student exchange programs and also staff exchange programs that we can learn from one another. Although we can't travel, we still use this kind of technology. So from my point of view, although we are shifting to the online mode, but in terms of interaction and communication and social interaction, still university can be a place that the community, students, staff still can come and share their knowledge. So it's a place of knowledge sharing apart from knowledge creation. I just want to make another metaphor. It's a university is like a source of power. Like when the graduates, they go to work for quite some times, I think they need to update their knowledge and skills so that they come back. So it's like a source of power that they can come and, like regenerate the energies and knowledge so that they can catch up with the changes in the labor markets. So I think the university have more than the the roles to offer the society as a place of learning, research, and community service. For the university in 4.0, I think we still need this kind of interaction, although we see the trend that's we're shifting from traditional, what we call traditional education system to digitalization. So, but we still need this kind of social space. So from my own experience, I'm one of the AUNQA as Asian University Network Assessors. So I've been attending a number of programs assessment, including university in the Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam. So I have opportunity to interview the stakeholders, including the employers, alumni, students, and the communities. We can see that the future trends, we were moving to the interdisciplinary. So I think this comes from the needs from the outsider, especially the stakeholder, the employers, who require the graduates with more well-rounded knowledge instead of focusing on a single discipline. So they need this kind of, as our others panelists already mentioned, that we need this kind of lifelong learning, critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and entrepreneurship, so on and so forth. So this kind of skills is really critical to equip our graduates to be prepared for future labor markets because of this kind of shifting. So I think that's from my point of view. But this may not represent others institutions in the region. But anyway, as I already mentioned, I have this kind of experience that the trends moving towards interdisciplinary and this kind of soft skill is a must for future graduates so that they can work, even though they're from one discipline, so they can work in other disciplines as well, in other industries, so that we need to prepare our graduates for future careers that may not exist today. Like we have seen a lot of new discipline that's already been evolving and created over the past few years, and as well as the uncertainties. That's the future university that look like from my point of view. But anyway, I think as I would like to sum up the key points, we also need this kind of a blended learning system, because if people, we are too smart, we focus on a lot, we spend too much time on social medias, learning online, this kind of platform. I think it's good for acquiring knowledge and expertise, but we still lacking socialization skills. So as we can see that this also creates further social problems, like people commit suicide, they have this kind of mental illness. So even though we're moving to online platform become more digitalization, but we still need this kind of interaction. That's from my point of view. So I think we can learn from one another. So it's up to the context, because one side doesn't fit all. That's it's still, I think it's still applicable to this. Maybe there's no absolute magic answers, but we need this kind of integration so that maybe the situation in Singapore and Laos, or in our neighboring country, Vietnam or Cambodia or Myanmar, may not be able to apply in terms of, we need this kind of infrastructures and human capitals, the investment. So anyway, another point I would like to ask the university in the future, I think it will become more and more autonomous organization. So we are shipping, even National University of Laos is a public university, but even because of the train, and we have the policy from the government that maybe we will be the pilots organization that we are turned into autonomy, so that we can, as our colleagues from Malaysia already mentioned, is as we can try to find a source to generate the income, so that I think is in the future the university need to move to be self-sufficient, in other words. So that's the price from my side, but maybe what I've already mentioned may not represent the overall picture from my university. That's from my experience as I've been working with many other organizations. I'm also a co-founder of Asian Quality Assurance, and with members to the Asian University Network as assessor. So we have this kind, and I think the university is a place that we can share the knowledge. Even our colleagues from European universities, Americas, and Japanese or other places, that we can learn from one another. So it's a place that we can share the knowledge sharings, and we need this kind of connectivities in order to help each other to move forward. So I think the education 0.40, we can't stand alone. We need this kind of connection and cooperation. So that's come to my the end of my presentation. My apology that I haven't had any PowerPoint sharings, but anyway, I hope you get my points. Hopefully you are not getting confused. Thank you so much for inviting me to share in this panel discussion. Thanks, Dr. Alison.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thanongsack, and trust me, we understand and hear every word you said, and I truly appreciate you preparing for the sharing session. And of course, to the speakers who have PowerPoint, which is absolutely fine as well. Your slides also help us follow your talk. I think this panel is nice because we have half-half. Half mean half of you have slides and half of you do not have slides. And so it gives us this dynamic way of having a conversation. Let me invite us to now focus back to Thailand. The representative is Vice President for Research and Innovation of Prince of Songkla University, Dr. Sunton. Please share with us your view on futures of higher education, please.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ora-orn and everyone, every speaker. So I'm very appreciative actually because of the knowledge about the future of the university that quite broad, but out of the speaker can narrow down and I can see in the future what our university will have to go through. And I would like to share our information and our idea of the university in the futures of us. So some of our thought is about we have to rethink about why we have to change, why we need to transform, why we need a university. And we found that in our university, we try to find out that the knowledge, we have to give the knowledge for the mankind. We have to give the new things for the mankind. We have to build capability for the social and economic, actually. So all the things is have to go beyond right now from the past. We have to bring them to go through in the future also. So that why I have to say that the knowledge and innovation-driven system integrator that have the thing that we talk to. So I try to summarize and try to bring the picture that make us understanding clearly. I try to give the persona of the university's futures in my in my science that okay, we think kind of like the innovators. The innovators, we have to be the new one for the innovator. It's kind of the dynamic of the knowledge. It's not the basic at all. In the future, they need to combine things, a lot of things that in the future that you need to. And then it can create the new values for that. So, and come take a look and what about that we have to do? It's kind of the thing of we have to create about the network, not only the SME, not only the government, not only the business, not only the university together, and everything that we have to gather to be the network together, social, government, and including about the private sector and everything that we can gathering to build the new capability of the knowledge and do it out of this to this world. And also that if we try to summarize, if we connect the social, technology, and business and create the new values, the new value is suitable for the economy, it's suitable for the social that we will go through on that way. And we believe that all these are great things, not only the one knowledge that can create the new thing. They need a bunch of the knowledge. It need a bunch of the technology come together. That's the way of our university thought about this. And also for the main theme, we also thinking about that. What the thing that we should go to be? Not only the specialist anymore. We need to be the leader, something that in our area need to be. For example, the one thing is about the health. Okay, in our regions, okay, in the southern of Thailand, our university is a man of the southern regions that try to help people about the medications, surgery, and everything about the health and wellness. So this area that why we have to stay here and try to get the knowledge of the health for the human mankind. In the southern of Thailand, the disease different from the north, different from the east, and I believe that it's still different from the other place of the world. So this one, we have to get the knowledge and have the research team to dig down the things of the knowledge about the health to the world. And also about the food, agriculture. Then we have a diversity of the biology. We have the many plants, many food. I think that all of you love the Thai food, right? The Thai food is very fantastic, and many food in the world is fantastic also. But the Thai food is quite something of the unique, especially in the south of Thailand. We have a spicy, we have the herb, we have the different thing. So this one should be created something of the new, and we have to access about the knowledge about the food and agriculture in the south of Thailand. So for the world, for the knowledge for that. And also the tourism. For the tourism, everyone knows about the Phuket, Samui, and many places of that. And the other one is quite interesting about the Pattani, the Islamic people, Malaysia people might be know about this, the history about this also. The culture, quite fantastic for the Pattani, is Islamic people. This one should be the cultural tourism in the south of Thailand. It's good for the Islamic people and good for we can go through about the cultural diversity. So that the picture that our university want to go to be. And also we think about what the education and training system need to be changed. Not only the digital that we need to be changed to. We have to do something that good for the skillful training system. And what the picture about that. So this is kind of the thing that we have to go through also. So this is about the picture that why we try to go through over there. And I would like to say that how we go to and and the suffering, something that we know about the government support declining in future, definitely. And self-support, we have to create something that is value enough. From the technology go to the IP, the business thing, and assets, some asset, we need to keep it a kind of the value to serve our university to keep going on the new knowledge creators. So I would say that we try to be a fully autonomous activities about the self-support business, right? And okay, I would like to share this about these pictures. But this picture is a sense of right now for the university had been changed from the degree. Definitely, if you go to see a kind of the student right now, the university degree from the university is not like the important thing for them at all. They need a kind of the different things. They need a kind of the thing that is valuable for them. It's a kind of just some of the certification from the Googles, for example, some of the certification from the other company that valuable enough. Why? Because of it's kind of the thing of the proof of the skill. It's kind of the proof them for increase the incomes in the futures. It's trying to prove that they can grow in the futures. That reason why the student right now I would say that it's not trust for the university degree anymore in the whole world, but it's shift to the others. So that we have to change ourselves also, that try to find out and serve about this thing for our students. And we think that nowadays, in my science, for example, it's about I'm the surgeons, I'm the doctors, so the comprehensive medicine is not good enough for them. In our student, they need kind of the special more. They need to focus something about the robotic surgery, about the precision medicine, about the gene therapy, something like this. The university have to shift to the thing that focus. And also, in the process of the teaching, change from the lectures, go to the coaching. The coaching right now, we believe that from in our side university, it's from the faculty of medicine, teaching about the change from the teaching or paradigm from the teaching to the coaching. And we found that our students understanding more. Our students love and can use in their life fully appreciate on the activity of the coaching. For example, during the surgery, we allow our students come close to us and we teach why we have to approach like this and why you need to understand the anatomy. Because of this, the access is practical. Something like this is useful for them. And then definitely for the textbook and the knowledge, basic knowledge, they can get from the internet at all. So the pictures that are in the university in the futures, I would like to say some of the, including about the digital platform, including about the skillful platform. Something like this should be combined in our university because of not only the digital we want to go through, but it's a kind of the skillful platform, something that we need to go through also. And we believe that this strength in our university for the students. And it's about the thing in the futures of in our university. In our university, it's because of the location, geography, we have the biodiversity, we have the cultural diversity, and we think that the main focus in the future of us is about the tourism, food, agriculture, and also it's about the health. this is the main theme that we are good enough to help and serve in our regions. That the pictures of the unity for the futures. So we believe that in our knowledge right now, we would like to share of our thought that the whole thing of in my opinions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunton, for sharing your vision and the future, the possible future, near future for Prince Songkla University. Let me now invite Dr. Yasuyuki Kono, the Vice President for International Strategy of Kyoto University, to share with us his views of the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ora-orn. After listening to the talks of 5 panelists, I feel that I have nothing to add more. But first of all, let me say that what I talk now is not not on behalf of Kyoto University. It's my own idea, and I don't represent Kyoto University or Japanese universities too. The question was, what is the role of university today? This suggests, but I want to think about this question from a little bit different viewpoints. Dr. Adrian Koi said, university should be free from time in the future. Well, it's a quite innovative idea, and I love it. But still, currently, most of the university students are between the age in the late teens and early 20s. So it's a kind of university is a kind of bridge between childhood and adulthood. And then how they should grow, how they spend this time to be the leader of the future. We expect that they will be a leader in any sense. It can be a national leader, a global leader, or leaders of private sector, whatever. But we expect them to be a leader. And how should they spend this time to become the leader? Of course, they should acquire some specific knowledge or skills or disciplines. Yes, it's quite important. But most probably, they should start to join the knowledge creation. It's because, as many of you said, that university is a place of knowledge sharing. I agree with you. But it is knowledge creation is not a role of faculty, not a role only for faculty members. Students also should participate in knowledge creation. It's because it's also, many said, we are going to the era of uncertainty, global environment, or capitalist market, or global governance. We don't know what will happen. And we are sure that when the current young age will be the 30s, 40s, and they will be the global leaders, the most important talent for them is producing knowledge, values to accommodate many people. And okay, so I think that let them join the knowledge creation, knowledge producing is one of the quite important tasks of universities. And then how can we do it? I am now around 60 years old. I joined the university in 1980s. Before that, in 1970s, it was a time when so many student movement happened, not only in Japan, but also in other countries, including the West. And they didn't have occasion to attend a lecture at the classroom. But through the student movement, they they acquired the capability to create knowledge. And currently, in the classroom, particularly for undergraduate, the student attitude is something like high school students. They just wait for to be taught by the professors, by the teachers. It is, like I said, but once they go out from the classroom, they are actively engaged of their activities, and they try to find out a chance to initiate something new by themselves. And this, what does this suggest? This suggests that the current education system functions well or not, even compared to 40, 50 years ago. What we are producing, yes, of course, in a sense, we are producing much higher quality of young talent. But in another sense, particularly from the capability to create knowledge, our graduates have better quality than the graduate 40 years ago, 50 years ago. It's a big question. And then how come graduates of 40, 50 years ago have such capability? It is not, I think that they have more free time in a sense. Well, the university does not commit so much into their life. And currently, we prepare so many programs, academic programs, training programs, or some other programs, and invite them to join the programs. And we believe that these are upgrading the quality of our graduate, but is it successful or not? It is a really good question. So, most probably, University 4.0, the current development trajectory during the last 20 to 30 years, we may have to rethink this trajectory. We should not teach too much. We should not provide too much occasions. We should dig out their potentialities and let them run. Let them have a capable. Let them be a capable person to create their knowledge. And so for that, most probably what we have to rethink is that currently, even in Japan, a sort of standardization of education programs is going on. Is it good or not? Look, quality assurance is a big issue. It's good or not from this viewpoint. That is, we have to reconsider how to develop our education systems. There may be others, but okay. So far, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yasuyuki Kono. You have expressed honestly and candidly your concern for the education system, actually, and you've painted for us this great need to stay connected to the younger generation, and I think many places are also experiencing such. I think almost it's like a identity crisis of universities in many places. Perhaps this is felt unevenly, but I think it is felt. I think one of the key issue that keeps coming up, and I want to touch upon this for the speakers who would like to respond, is that many universities are asked to be more autonomous and finding the need to have new business models for income generation to continue to be viable. But at the same time, there's this big question about the university being the place to cultivate the mind and the soul, the formation of character. This is coming up in the chat from Ajahn Apishai. The place for soul searching, for knowledge creation. And we know that these words don't make money. So I'm not sure if any of you have a response to my discussion point. Where is the role of the university in the future? Let me just put it bluntly: make money or be that, ideological place that is so needed in society today. Dr. Sunton, please.
I would like to say it's about the balance. We need to keep it balanced. Just the word that's so much important. It's not yes or no, left or right, just balance sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajahn Sunton. Would any other panelists like to respond to that? Yes, Adrian.
That's a great question. And, Professor Sunton, you talk about balance, and I think that's great. Trying to find that Goldilocks point, not too much here, not too much there, but where's just right is challenging enough, and then it means that balance means different things in different contexts, in places with different histories, and it gets even more complicated because we all, to varying degrees, are somewhat global. We don't exist in the vacuum. So what happens when different value systems clash and collide, and how then will we move on as an education enterprise despite all these disagreements, which are nevertheless reasonable, right? You're right and I'm right. It's just that they are not compatible. And how do we transcend all these disagreements in pursuit of something that's of a higher purpose? But I think one other thing that I would add into this this mix is, when we talk about the university and many of the changes that university leaders have been contemplating before COVID hit, right? The thing that kept them awake at night tended to be, oh my God, Industry 4.0, obsolescence, AI, robots can take jobs away, degrees become worthless and jobs are vanishing. And all this still exists, right? Despite COVID. In fact, these things are even more pressuring given COVID. How now do we turn out students who can very quickly get a job and survive? And so many of the changes that we contemplate in university speak to speed. How can we do this faster and faster? But I think one of the things that Yasuyuki sensei spoke about is perhaps it's also a place where you don't just go fast, but can you slow down? Right? Can university be a place where certain things you do fast, but certain things you want to slow down to reflect, and there's some things, as I think a book title, when there's some things you can only see when you slow down. Right? And those things are important. So, university leaders, especially in policy discourse, policy discussions, talk about relevance, we must be relevant. But I think we confuse relevance with immediacy. When we say relevant, we really mean immediately relevant. But the university should do things which are relevant, but not yet. This might not be immediately relevant, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, as you mature in whatever job you do, all of these things that we taught you that didn't seem relevant at that point in time start to make sense. So I think we need to delink relevance from immediate. They're not always the same thing.
Thank you very much, Adrian. A place to slow down, maybe to pull us into the direction that we actually want to go to.
And see, if I say these things in Singapore, and you know Singapore very well, when you say we need to slow down, you get wrapped on the knuckles. No, come on, no, that's not us, right? We got to go faster.
Adrian, you need to say what most of the panelists have said. I don't represent my university's view, nor the government. But this is an important point, and I will throw this important point back to our panelists. In the futures literacy, society and communities, we talk about this global place. We talk about climate change, the need to work together to go beyond national interests. Now, all of your universities are situated based on national interest. are there ways actually to have universities be that place that Dr. Thanongsack was saying, knowledge sharing, true collaboration, where we, go beyond our national interests? Is that at all possible? Your thoughts, please. Maybe I go with Dr. Yong, Zulina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, actually, let me just reflect back what happened in the last 2 years, the journey that I have been through. Well, I've been teaching for more than 20 years. Over the years, I've been teaching the same thing again, and materials at the internet, I do use from time to time, and the quality of the material that is produced or the resources is out there. I feel that, well, it helps as a reference, but that's not the thing. At the end of the day, it's really my material. Then bang, when things go online, that's where I realized that I am not a good teacher anymore. Because when I'm meeting them face to face, I can crack jokes, I can call up names, but when I'm online, it doesn't work. And students say, hey, because of my bandwidth is low and things like that. And that's where I realized, oh dear, I am not able to teach effectively. That's where, for me, an old person, the intergeneration, to be learning from my students, how to engage with my students online. And for me, the last 2 years has been a very steep learning curve. And then when I look at the resources out there, I can see an exponential increase of so many resources, and some of them, the quality are so good. I think never in a short time span, people are innovating, coming up with, ways of delivering, ways of teaching. How do you go about alternative assessment? What does it mean? And things like that. I have never seen things that I do have that diploma in education, but I think in the last 2 years, it's really out of the window. I have learned everything new. I learned from my students how to use TikTok to get them in, to entice them. There's so many things out there, and they actually teach me how do I go about evaluating them. So how do I get their trust? So they, in other words, this is the last 2 years is a year of collaborations, a year of collaborating with my partners abroad. And when we talk about the challenges, and it kinds of relate to us. And to me, the year, if you ask me to describe what happened in the last 2 years on a positive side, is just the year of co-creation and collaboration. I stop at this point.
Thank you very much. The year of co-creation, can we co-create beyond national borders? So let me throw that back again. Looking at the time, we have 3 minutes left. I give you the freedom to answer that question, or say anything else that you would like to say in this panel, and I will leave it for food for thought for our audience to think about the future. So let me invite, in the order of our presentation, Dr. Adrian, you can go first, followed by Dr. Zulina and Dr. Thanongsack, and then Dr. Sunton, and then Yasuyuki Sensei.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me this chance to maybe share some final thoughts. I want to smuggle something in from a previous session that I sat in on. I think you did as well. Many of us working in universities to varying degrees are confronted with this whole notion of solving societal problems. Sometimes we even frame it more fancifully and impressively by saying, oh, these are the grand challenges. And that's great, right? We want to be able to apply some of the knowledge we create so that we demonstrate usefulness to society, and we are funded by society as well. But I just want to point out one thing. Are we inadvertently solving problems of our own creation? Right? To a large extent, the university, the modern university, is a creature of the modern economic world. Are we applying band-aids to the very wounds that we're inflicting. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian. Maybe we need a completely different thing to do, right? If we keep inflicting old wounds by doing the same things. Dr. Zulina, please.
Thank you. I suppose my final message is looking at, again, going back what we have gone through, moving forward is really how well do we go about adapting it to the present situation right now. I think we might have other challenges in the future, but really question how well do we adapt? What does it take? How open are we for changes? I think one example, the university is a very old university in Malaysia, very old school kind of thing, very, the kind of programs that we offer are really the conventional. Never in my wildest dreams would have thought the university is open to changes where we start to recognize degree stacking. We always say, oh, that is for the teaching university. We begin to realize acknowledging the knowledge gained by not the normal pathways, and then looking at students' experience and in learning, really practicing it. For us as an academician, we do not preach, but rather we facilitate. When I have my lesson plan, I say one will have A, B, C. It doesn't work that way. So I leave it at that point. So really being able to adapt.
Yes.
And in order to do that, we need each other to put forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And your thoughts on adaptation and resilient shows the true futurist in you. So next, your last words, Dr. Thanongsack.
Before I present my wraps-up points, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the organizing committee for this kind of events. This is very rare opportunity for me to share this kind of panel discussion. So I just want to post my thought. I think we are talking about a lot of transformation, digitalization, moving beyond borders, so on and so forth. From that point, I think the university is the place for the elite. So bear in mind that we still have lots of people who can't afford. So although we are moving forward, turning into digitalization, a lot of cooperation, this requires a lot of investments, and we need to consider for those who can't afford. So as you already mentioned, that we need to find the balance. That's my last word. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Thanongsack. And also on behalf of the organizing committee of this conference, we would also like to thank the National Commission of UNESCO Laos that has generously supported this conference as well. So thank you very much for your participation. Let me now ask Dr. Sunton to give us his final thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Ora-orn, and thank you, everyone. Okay, so in my thought, I would like to say that's about the three keywords. I would like to say that the first thing about why we need to create the new knowledge for the humanities. The second thing is how. I would say that we need to change learning platform for the humanities. And for the last, what the things we have to focus on the best for the humanities. That our thoughts. Thank you.
ขอบคุณมากค่ะ Thank you very much, Dr. Sunton, for your 3 points. Professor Yasuyuki Kono-sensei, you have the floor for the last words.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, even though I said that we should not teach too much, we should not provide too much programs, but still, I think that it's better to provide diverse opportunity for the student to join. And in that sense, international collaborations will be much more important. Like it's like physical. Now we have online tools. We can share classroom, even though we say different places. So anyway, by combining online and in-person tools, we should have much dense, frequent collaborations. We should develop it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kono Sensei. So, ladies and gentlemen, and the audience, this session has been about University 4.0, transition agents for the futures. There was many topics that was covered, but I'm gonna wrap up with 3 points that I think is worth remembering. Number 1, let's do less, as Kono Sensei say. Teach less, coach more, facilitate, co-create with students. Number 2, let's slow down. Let's not run after the economy, the industry, all the pressures that put upon us, but rather slow down, take more time to truly create knowledge that would be useful for humanity. And last but not least, we have to collaborate. We have to work beyond national borders, beyond short-term interests, in order to ensure that there is future for universities. So thank you very much, all the panelists. It was absolutely a wonderful, engaging conversation. And once again, thank you to Chulalongkorn University for this Futures Literacy Week. So with that, I would like to pass the microphone back to Ajahn Jessada, please.
ขอบคุณครับ Thank you very much อาจารย์ Ora-orn and all the speakers for sharing your insights and experiences on the ground so that we may envision new futures for universities and how our institutions can transform to stay relevant in this dynamic and disruptive era. Chulalongkorn University looks forward to continuing this conversation with our partners as well as the work that we would like to do to build our resilience in the face of an increasingly uncertain and complex world to make a difference and to serve the public. So once again, thank you very much for a very fruitful and productive discussion. So please give a big round of applause to our moderator and our speakers once again. Thank you so much.